Being it's 9 o'clock a.m. on Friday of November 3rd, we're going to call the Personnel and Finance Committee meeting to order. We'll start with public comments. Item number 2. For those people that are here, anybody that has public comments in the room, I'll say it for 3 times. Public comments in the room. Anybody? Public comments in the room. All right, we'll close public comments to the room. Anybody on Zoom? Nobody on Zoom? Okay, we're gonna close public comments and we will adopt an agenda. Okay. Thank you. We're gonna go to approval of minutes. I'm sorry, I didn't adopt the agenda with a vote. Get a vote. Aye. 5-0 on the adopted agenda. Approval of minutes. Move to item approval of minutes. Second.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're on Paul's report. Paul,
All right, first we'll go with the investment analysis report. Page 1 is just showing the split of types: municipal, money market, U.S. agencies, certificates of deposit, corporates, and local government investment pool. So currently we've got 176 million invested, with 50 million is still sitting in money market. Of that 50 million, 30 million of that 50 is pretty much spirit fund. So I kind of want to invest that, but then it seems like we're starting to actually get the projects out. So I want to make sure we're liquid enough to be able to get them projects going with the cash flow. The back page is just showing more by security type, which then splits it into money market, the LGI pool, Fannie Mae, Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corp, municipal bonds, negotiable CDs, corporate bonds, farm corporate bonds, and Federal Home Loan Banks. So just trying to show that we do have a wide array of investments that are all very secure as far as being backed by the government. So I guess take that with a grain of salt of our government is secure, we're secure. I am looking at trying to get into more U.S. treasuries, as that has not been something that the county has done a lot of, but they are more negotiable and their rates are coming up compared to the other ones. So they are potentially, I can get 5, 6, 7-year bonds of them, but then I can almost sell them like cash. So I'm starting to look at U.S. treasuries that are starting to come up. So the last page is showing the investments I did make this month. There is one that came due, was cashed in at, it's as basically the only reason I'm showing this is I'm trying to make investments long-term. We have a lot that are covered for 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. We are a little shy on. So I'm trying to fill them years out while the interest rates are high. I stopped investing in October just because I thought, okay, where's my cash flow? Where's my money coming from? But then as I'm getting closer to January, and we all know tax bills are going to be being paid in, so I'll have cash from January until April or August, and we have to send it to the municipality. So I did invest another $5.5 to $6 million, and I'm looking to do some more to lock in some of these rates before it starts. We all know the Fed came in and held everything froze. So that's kind of a good sign, but we know at some point they're gonna start dropping. And when they start dropping, these interest rates are gonna go bye-bye. So I want to lock us in to be able to get some good interest in the future. As you can see, the one that we cashed out had a year-to-date rate of 2.41. And all the others are 4.75 all the way up to 5.45. So I just want to make sure that we're gonna have long-term interest coming in, but still maintain our cash flow for what we need to do.
Do we invest any money in local credit unions and banks?
We do have, one that is back on,
No money at West Point.
that's on page, 2, which is West Point Bank. We've got $3.5 million on them. Everybody else I have asked to is not coming close to the rates I can get with negotiable CDs. I send it out like every other month with all the local banks and credit unions. I will probably do that now because it's starting to get closer where the rates are starting to go up. So, I don't want to invest with anybody that is not going to secure our money with a letter of credit or a pledge of assets. I know the county has in the past, you've got the 250 from the Fed and the 400,000 from the state. Right now, West Point Bank is $3 million. That means 2.3 million of it is not secured. So I would prefer having them either getting a letter of credit or pledging of assets. So that are my criteria for local banks, and to have them be within 0.5% of what I can get elsewhere. So I am asking the locals, I keep asking Nicolay Bank, American Bank, First National Bank. Them are the ones we have accounts with. So I know some of them have also bought some of our bonding when we did the bonding. So yes, them are the ones I want to work with, but I'm not going to give up a whole percent of interest with no backing or no security.
And the money markets are, a lot of money market.
Money market's at 5.3, but right now I'm able to get 5.45. And long-term, I'm getting 4.75 for 7 years on municipal bonds, so I want to get money locked in for the county while I can. But like I said, we still have 50 million sitting in our money market accounts, so I don't think we're not cash flow insolvent with 50 million.
I have a couple questions.
Sorry, go ahead.
So that 50 million, that's that, spirit fund, correct? And how much, what leeway do we have with that? Not 50 million, no.
30
or
million. is
30,
probably the-
yeah, but what's the leeway we have with that? I mean, how much, with projected, so if you take out like the municipalities and their stuff, what's left? I mean, the maximum that we could do, because that just seems like an area that we could absolutely grow that spot. But I mean, more, instead of just getting interest.
I presented it as there's 30 million for that, just because that's how I'm accruing the interest, because that's what Spirit Fund for.
And the
people
interest
want.
rate on that right now is,
5.3.
so that's not bad. I mean,
No, I mean, it's
you
getting. a
could
good
probably
money
get it,
market
yeah, you
account.
could probably get it up higher if
So I
you,
mean, technically, I'm investing some of that money along with the others in the 1 to 2 to 4 year CDs. But I mean, if we need that, we have the cash flow.
okay,
So it depends on how quickly we start approving the projects going through the county board and when they actually need the money.
right.
Some of them are gonna need it like as soon as it's approved, they're gonna need a.
They're gonna need it, like the ones,
You
like
know,
the trucks and the stuff like that, that they've already
Land
paid for.
Conservation,
Right,
that's
right.
gonna be 7-8 years for $3 million, so that is.
That
money
one you
can be
can look
invested.
at, yeah, and then you talked about the treasury, we haven't done that in the past as much, correct?
From what I can gather, we haven't done it at all.
Okay, and what's the back, what's the return on investment on that?
Oh, sorry.
Or secure, yeah,
It's the US Treasury, so it's the next best thing to cash. I mean, it's US Treasury.
I hope so.
I mean, they're better than bonds, they're better than corporate bonds.
This took
they're
another,
better
1 trillion dollars as for loans.
Yeah.
That
So-
scares you a little bit.
US treasuries are the most liquid, but they have not been for the last 5 years been paying very good dividends. They've been around, last time I looked, they were at like 3.4 compared
Yeah,
to
that's
4.75. I can get a municipal bond for, we invested in $750,000 of lacrosse school bonds. That was one of the purchases I just did. That was at, I think, 4.75%.
But it's just more liquid, I get it.
It's more liquid, but they're doing this now. That 3.4 is coming up to the 4.7, so I wanna start switching to the more secure, more liquid. I mean, they're all AA, AAA.
Right.
I mean, Steve can probably speak more to this than I can, but it's like, they're all very secure.
Perfect.
So,
You're doing an amazing job, so thank you.
all right, so we're gonna switch to capital projects. Morris wanted 3 colors. If you count white, I gave him 5. So, and I hope it's readable to everybody. Basically, I'm gonna go through them kind of quickly, but if you have questions, let me know. I'm not gonna go through the ones in white, because the ones in white basically don't really have any change, or there's nothing happening on them at this point. The air plow truck, from what I understand from Jim, there was an RFP out on that. Specifications have been made, so they're waiting on selecting once they get the RFPs back.
Paul, could you define the different colors for us?
Basically, the blue has some activity on that. The green are good and pretty near closing or closed.
Okay.
The pink is over. I don't want to put red. The yellow is Radke.
Okay,
So, so basically the T hangers are for the most part done. We are just waiting for invoices to come in, because that's not gonna end at $2 million. They are finished, they are all leased out. Okay, I shouldn't say leased out. All the leases have been sent out. They have not been signed and returned. But there's a waiting list for hangers, so I don't think we're gonna have a problem getting them leased and getting them taken care of. But as far as what Jim has said, they are complete and being taken care of.
okay.
Can we approve them already?
You approved the spending of the
Wait,
money.
no, we've already approved the leases.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, because I'm on the airport
Yeah,
committee, so I know that we've
Yeah.
approved the leases.
They're
so-
waiting for the people to sign them.
To sign them and
back
return them,
With
gotcha.
their.
And they're
check.
waiting probably until they're complete.
Right.
Okay,
So they
for the
can-
horse,
so they're
gotcha.
moved in and everything.
Okay,
Priority-based budgeting, we've heard a lot about that. One thing.
Yes, I have a question on that. How did he get to spend that money before the fact, before he was given the money?
It was approved by a resolution in, I think, January of 2023.
yeah,
The whole,
Yeah, for the hangers, yeah.
no, for the
For-
priority base,
Priority-based budgeting resolution is 168-01-2023.
When we did the 167 approval on that resolution, which gave us the spirit fund, okay? It was at that same time that those resolutions all came through. And that was at that time, the priority-based resolution, or the
so it
resolution.
was
by
paid
the
through the
Senate.
spirit fund?
yeah,
Yeah, it was paid through.
it was the
Yeah,
first thing that was
that's the
done.
first Spirit Fund project. I have Spirit Fund project and I just have projects.
Mhm.
So I kind of
Okay.
didn't separate Spirit Fund. So
Get off that and go to-
anything that has a 6 in front of it is a Spirit Fund project.
Yeah.
So that one, basically, the interesting thing is, I just heard word that Tyler, who is our ERP system, just bought Resource X, which is our priority-based budgeting system.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I'm not real sure how quickly that's going to meld. And how quickly that's gonna maybe help us with merging our general ledger into the priority-based budgeting system. But I'm sure there's gonna be a few conferences I'm gonna have to go to along with Carol to learn more about this.
Well, the software may end up getting more expensive to actually update.
Or it might get less expensive because it might
Yeah.
be part of our already kind of license.
I was gonna say, it's probably gonna be less.
It's already expensive, so. It's not as expensive what I've seen in private industry though, so.
Don't have SAP.
Yeah. 980 residents, from what I heard, them are gonna be done by the end of the year for, Mike.
I have a question on that.
Yeah.
You know, like, I believe they were 177,000 apiece, right?
I think it went up since then, but yeah.
Well, let's say 200.
Yeah.
Why did we only bill 3? We approved over $1 million. Why didn't we bill 5? Where's the rest of that money going?
I think they went up quite a bit. I think the original quote,
Well, I don't think they're gonna be 333,000, are they?
the original number, I mean, we talked about 8, then we got an estimate that said we should be able to build 6. And then, the actual bids came in quite a bit higher.
Well, I know when I talked to John, they were 177,000 apiece. That was a month ago. And you take that, 1,068,000 is what we have there. Why would we only build 3? We could have built at least 5.
Steve, from the time that the resolution was passed until the time they started building was a span of about 2 years because of waiting on the city to agree with the permits and whatever else, what I understand, okay? That period of time, the increases in the material and the holdup on materials and whatever else held it up almost another year, and all the prices went with it. Now, the bottom dropped on.
2 months ago, I listened to the facilities meeting and they were 177,000. So unless it went up to 333,000 in the last 2 months, we should have been able to build 5.
I don't know the numbers, I can't.
Well, I guess next month I would like to know where the rest of
Right,
that money's
I'll
gonna
find out
go.
more from Mike. I mean.
Yeah,
Mike
I mean,
basically told
there's
me
a lot
that
of money
they-
that's gonna be left in that project, cause it's probably gonna be less than $600,000. Where's the other 400,000 gonna go? I listened to the facilities meeting and Mike Elders told that his committee that they were $177,000 to build them at today's prices. That was like 2 months ago. So back then I wondered, why aren't we building 5 instead of 3, but we were building 3. So I would just like to know where the rest of that money is going to go.
Right, I'll have to ask it whether it's into, I don't know if they're being furnished or if they're being anything, or if there's, I know I heard things about 2 trailers on the property also. I don't know if we already have them or not.
So
So
maybe we decided we only need the 3 because 2 offenders can be kept in the trailer. The original plan was to get rid of the trailer, now the plan is to keep the trailer and just build 5. So that'll save us
But
money.
I'm fine with that. I know we got 1,068,000. I would just like to know where the rest of that money is gonna go. Like, it's gonna go back into the reserve fund or,
it's gonna go back in the capital.
but I would like to, next month, if you tell us what that project is gonna cost us. So that we're informed, and when people, ask about what their cost, I tell them 177,000 and they say, why didn't you build 5? I said, well, I don't know why we didn't build 5, so that's why I'm asking you.
Right.
Mike is right, because they did an update with us, and I don't remember where all it was, but I remember what Mike said is absolutely correct about that they had built 3, and they're using the trailers because they're trying to do it as cost effective, because they don't want to spend the money to do this. I mean, none of us do.
Right, no,
Right,
So
so
we need to
because none of us wanna deal with the 980s, right, we just don't want it, but they were able to keep it, if I'm not mistaken, because of that.
So I'll see if we can move that money over to the county parking lots and finish it.
there we go. I mean, I just want to adjust it so it's accurate, because right now it's not accurate. It should be 600,000 and we're gonna be
Right.
468,000 over budget.
Well, we have to put what's approved
I
here,
have to
but
put what's
yeah, if it's
approved,
not
and
spent,
right now it's only 56,000 been spent, because I don't know any better, there's nothing. I mean, there may be more encumbered, but I have to pull that separately, so maybe I'll look at adding another column
For projection.
for
Yeah, for
projection.
projection. You know, 'cause just when people ask me what it's costing, I basically tell them they're 177,000 apiece.
Right.
And then they say, well, why didn't you build 5 of them? And I don't have an answer for them. You know, I can tell them, well, we don't think we need them. But then if we didn't think we needed them, then we aren't gonna spend all that money. And I know like sometimes that money just kind of floats around for a long time before it finds a home.
I'm trying to avoid that.
No, we're not putting money in the county executive slush fund, if it is.
I am, my goal is to have the directors come in quarterly. To explain the projects themselves, so whether that's the December meeting or the January meeting. I'll leave that up to Morris on when you think the best update. January might be better, because by that time, some of these things are not gonna be working on anymore until March or April, so. You'll have them, that they should know the more specific, but I'll try to do a better job here.
Moving
Thank you.
on. Moving on.
Okay. District attorney remodel is done, from what I understand. Facilities condition assessment is done. Mike is trying to weed through all of the documents and put together a plan to present to his committee and to the other committees and the board on what needs to be done for all the buildings in the county. He did say, I believe, I don't know if he said this during the budget meetings or if it was just with me in a room, but it came in better than he thought it was.
He said it at the meeting.
Okay, so that's that one.
That
Orange
was
King,
presented at his last
Last one.
committee meeting.
okay, but he's got to put together a pretty intensive plan on number 1, number 2, number 3.
And he talked about it in his presentation during our budget stuff.
So Orange King roof is done and complete. They just have to close that and get it capitalized in the county. Then we have Mike is still waiting for the lease for the USDA. Everything is complete. They're still in the building. They just haven't signed the lease and sent them back to him yet. County Road CB is over budget right now. I don't have much more on that from Bob than it is over budget. That is something that I will get down. There's a couple other projects, the county AMRO. Basically, that was one of the ones he talked about, I believe, at the budget meetings. The concrete base was good, so he didn't have to dig up the concrete base. He could just lay over the top of that. So that project is complete. So that's $900,000 that he came in under on that project. So I'm sure he's gonna come back and ask for 137 of that 900 to pay for the other road project. But I just wanted to let you know that there are some of the projects for the highway. County II is also pretty much complete, he said, and that's under budget. And so JJ still has a lot more expenses that have not hit yet. That one is pretty much probably gonna use the full 929 from what he has told. So there are some of the projects that are coming in under budget for highway.
Are you saying I is under budget?
I believe II is under budget.
Well, there are 2 II
There's
projects.
2 II projects.
Second one.
So it's a question of the one is under budget, but is the other one going to, once he hits that one, use up the other II funds?
Yeah.
That's kind of like when I get down to the T,
Yeah,
which is the Radke project, where we asked for the 900,000 additional funding.
no,
So we have 175,000 left on that. There's also the other portion of T and II is 307,000. So I don't think when he talked about this last time, everybody was aware is there's like $500,000 to finish up that 200 feet of road.
good.
So I believe we're gonna be able to bring some of that money back, at least I hope. But he said right now, he's gonna finish that up in spring himself. With the highway department and forget about trying to bid it out, because nobody's gonna wanna do that
That little bit of.
that little bit of road.
Yeah,
And he doesn't believe Radke's gonna be around to do it. Legally and everything else, I'll leave that up to Bob and Marianne on if we have any recourse on Radke.
yeah.
Probably not, but, you know, the cost is probably more in legal fees than it costs us to get one. So that's that's the highway department.
Oh,
So, do we have somebody,
John.
John Rat?
I heard his name.
Oh. Community parks parking lot for Adam are done, even though for Steve, they're only 50% done. So maybe we can take some of this highway money and finish them up.
I think that'd be a good idea.
But we'll still have to come back and have you approve to spend more money for the parks. Expo Center has a few things that need additional. He did what he could and then he had money left over, so then he was adding cameras and some wiring and some other.
We have Adam with us if you
Oh,
have
there he
any
is.
questions.
You want to talk about parks?
Sure, I can. Yeah, so the parking lot one is also, just to address that, that's also to be requested in next year's CIP, so maybe that is something that. But, you're here in this one? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, the Expo campus improvement, that was the ponds and the large parking lots, that were completed 2 years ago. We had items in our initial bid, that we pulled out because we wanted to make sure we had enough contingency through the project. And then when the project was complete, we added some of those back in, like highway did the road access to Netzer property that we already had permitted. That permit only lasts so many years. We wanted to get that done. So yeah, so we added a few things back in, and the cameras was part of the project too. So we are finalizing that. That should be hopefully closed out by the end of December. The generator is more facilities. I don't know if you want to.
No, that's just,
Okay.
I just agree.
Okay, sounds good. Granted, I do have one little update because I talked to Mike 2 days ago on the generator project. That did, bids went out or came back in, and I did see the bid results. And the generator bids, you can ask Mike a little bit more because he's been more in depth with it. But basically it's the bids came in well under budget, like almost half the cost of the projected generator. So, Grumman boat landing improvements, that's going really well. They're installing the bathroom next week, Wednesday actually, which is the last major component. We're gonna be within budget on that one. We do have, within the project, we put in conduits and everything to get cameras put in for that project.
Yeah.
But that wasn't part of the actual project, so, in November, Parks Committee is gonna be taking up whether or not, a request for additional funds to get the actual cameras.
Have you got fiber out there already?
No, so it'll be an internal system, because fiber would be all the way at County A, which in the future we could run down. But it would have been pretty costly to run fiber all the way down there to be able to hook to the network. So we'll just be an internal, we'll have our own system in the bathroom down there.
Okay.
So, but otherwise that project's going very well. We only had 5% contingency and working in the water and around the water. I'm just very happy with our engineering team, and staff for making sure that stayed within budget. And then the equine complex improvement, the only piece that we're finishing on that is adding some outlets. It's like $2,000-3,000, but facilities might not, and facilities is finishing that out. They said they might not be able to get to it until spring. So that one's pretty much ready to be done. We're just waiting on that final piece. And then Walcott Creek, that's the engineering. That'll be, if you recall, we requested engineering through construction. Now, we only use enough engineering to design it and to get to the point of bidding, because the county board and has not approved the project itself yet. But the project itself will be a Spirit Fund request that will be ready, and actually will be presenting a presentation to the Parks Committee in November. And once John and Chairman Egan have it on the Spirit Fund Committee, then it'll go through that process. So, oh, and we did get we tentatively were awarded the grant for construction, which was $751,000, which will be part of that. So, I think that's all mine.
Good. Thank you.
So I know
Mr.
we're
Rich.
gonna have sheriff here too, just in case you have some input.
Sure.
Dispatch console station, last I heard, there was one workstation that still needed to be added for that one, otherwise that's almost 90 plus complete. Wiring for the cameras, I don't believe it started,
Correct, they had some supply chain issues.
and the Motorola radios are almost complete with actually getting them in stock.
They are in Green Bay right this minute, big program. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So the last two we have is the child care center at UW Fox Cities, from my understanding is complete. So I think there are still some expenditures that have not been actually applied yet, but they'll still be under budget in total. And the parking lot, I believe she addressed at the budget meeting, that highway has basically fixed the bump for a hole or something there, but I don't think this actually shows the highway billing in there yet.
But it's still yet to be done.
No, they fixed the road, they just haven't, I don't have the invoice from highway yet. Otherwise, that's all I have.
Thank you. Paul? That's an okay. Okay, we move on to item number 6, which is the budget transfer. For the Parks Department, the amount of $950 to purchase a snow plow for the new truck. And,
Move to approve?
no. Let's get the whole detail out of Adam first, and then we'll do the move to approve. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, I'll be real brief. We budgeted 145,000 for a 10-foot mower and a truck with a plow blade. The truck, we budgeted 40,000, it did come in 45,000. The 10-foot mower, we budgeted 95, came in 90,000. Just kind of between some of the overage unders that left us with 95.15, or the plow blade is 95.15. So that left us $947.99 short. So requesting that to get the plow blade so we can get that equipped on the new truck and be ready for snow, hoping not too soon. I mean, we already had some.
Move to approve?
Second.
Second by Binder. Indeed. Who? We got a vote.
I,
Aye. We got 5-0 on the vote. Thank you, Adam. Okay, item number 7 is Mr. Ebeck. And that's a resolution amending the human resources policy to adopt paid time off. A paid time off plan. And you came with a lot of baggage here.
I did. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also have Jamie Luring and Stephanie Stieg with me again today, just in case there's some additional questions. I did want to just briefly run through some of the policies in the agenda item report. I just gave a summary, I think, of most of the things that we've already talked about, so I don't want to go through and cover a lot of that. I did include just some of the feedback that we've heard from employees regarding supervisors hearing some positive responses, employees having a sense of being heard and valued, through this process. And really, again, our proposed revisions seek to offer the greatest positive impact to the largest number of employees. So when we tackled the policy changes, you'll see, I've got a whole bunch of policies here. And the main policy that we'll get to in a minute is policy 17, which previously had been titled vacation, and we changed that to PTO. However, we also needed to look through all of our policies to see where did we reference vacation, where did we reference floating holiday, where did we reference sick leave, so that we can update and make changes so that those other policies now are consistent with our PTO plan. So you'll see we've got policy 13, family and medical leave. Again, that just throughout that document, updates the PTO and the extended leave bank. The unpaid leave and other absences, again, that's just another policy that was referring to our existing bucket system that we needed to update language in. So then we get to policy 17. And there's a few things that I just want to go through and highlight to try to show you that we've incorporated everything that we've had explained to the committee and to the board. So if you look on that first page, 1701 subsection B, paid time off. Paid time off includes all paid leave previously available under vacation, floating holidays, sick, and funeral leave. PTO is intended to substitute paid leave for missed work time and can be utilized for any purpose, subject only to necessary request and approval procedures as established by the county and its departments. PTO may be used in increments of 1/4 hour or more. One of the questions I had gotten from at least one supervisor was just in relation to, you know, how will this work from a practical standpoint? Can employees just take PTO? So these policies reflect that there's still a process internally, just like we requested vacation, just like you called in sick, there's a process to those things. We'll still have processes to keep order and be able to manage schedules, things like that. Also, then if you look over to the next page, under PTO approved earnings, subsection E, you'll see the sworn non-represented management deputies, employees of the sheriff's office. Our non-represented deputies currently follow all the management policies, so everything in the employee handbook. The represented deputies, of course, are still represented. They have an agreement with the county. That agreement right now continues vacation, floating holiday, sick time, etc. Now, at some point, they may or may not want to negotiate and switch to PTO, but right now, that's the one group that would stay on, in essence, a bucket system. The sheriff's office has indicated that their preference would be that their management staff, meaning lieutenants, captains, the chief deputy, they're also deputies, but they're non-represented. Those individuals would, in essence, mirror the practice that the association has right now, so they would stay on vacation, floating holiday. And one of the main reasons for that is concerns regarding promotions. You know, we don't want individuals to necessarily think that, you know, there's reasons to not take a promotion. And there's some benefits that deputies have that we don't have for everyone else, specifically how they can do some of their time off. And so the sheriff thought it would be advantageous just to keep them on the same system. And then in the future, if the association makes a change, you know, they would make a change as well. So that is one exception. And we talked about that before, but I wanted to point that out. And so the management at the sheriff's office, they would still follow our policy about separation benefit as far as having to, you know, the frozen sick time, that would all still be in place. And then again, in order to qualify for any type of payout upon leaving the county, they'd have to provide proper notification as any other employee. So that's what that section is about. You'll also see on here, we've got that chart showing years of service, the days earned, the multipliers. We had talked about those before. And then the extended leave bank, that's in 1703. Section D, transferability. Hours in the ELB are not transferable to other employees or to the PTO bank. That really gets back to, right now, we don't allow sick time to be donated to employees because we're putting all of the old sick time into the ELB. That won't be transferable. Now, we did have a question during the presentation about transferring PTO. Right now, we do allow limited cases for vacation to be transferred, so there's nothing barring preventing PTO donations. I talked with the executive about maybe trying to establish a more having something more an actual policy about our process and what that may look like, but this doesn't prohibit donation of PTO amongst employees. And then also, just to make it very clear, paragraph E, underneath that, payouts, the hours in the extended leave bank are not subject to payout, with the exception of any previously identified as frozen sick time. Then once we get down to 1705 PTO rules, if you look at paragraph B, again, this is just department rules control the method and time for employees to request PTO usage, the number that can be off on a given day, etc. So just showing, even though we are making changes to what the system is, it's still going to operate internally similar to how we request vacation and whatnot. And then moving to policy 18, holidays. So a few things to note in here. Again, as discussed previously, holidays are in addition to PTO benefits described in policy 17. We did add in some language above paragraph A about if consecutive holidays fall on a Friday and the following Saturday, or on Sunday and the following Monday. This is our current practice. We just haven't had it in writing. So it typically will happen Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, sometimes New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. And then we always get the questions, what days are we recognizing for those individuals on a Monday through Friday schedule? So we just clarified what current practice is. Same thing with New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Even though those are consecutive holidays, they have to be observed in the calendar year in which the holiday occurs. So those may not necessarily follow the consecutive holiday rule, just based on needing to be observed in the year. And then we talked a lot about consistency and trying to align our employees into a single system for administrative ease. And I couldn't really find a way to describe this any better than what I've got in here, but we basically have two scenarios in how we treat regular holidays. And they're how we treat them now, but I needed to explain that in this policy update. We all understand that, you know, the employees who work Monday through Friday are going to observe the holiday occurs. However, we do have employees who don't work Monday through Friday, and they may work a 7-day schedule. Some of those 7-day schedules are in our 24-hour departments, but not exclusively. So number one, I didn't want to refer to it as 24/7 rules, because we have some non-Monday through Friday positions that don't operate around the clock. So paragraph A is if you're working a 7-day schedule, you can accrue PTO as the holiday occurs. And what that refers to is, right now, we have individuals in our dispatch center, in human services, at the crisis center and shelter care, that they get all of their holidays as floating holidays. So they don't get any additional regular holidays, but because they're subject to work on those holidays, they just get them all as a bank. So to address how we're going to handle that under the PTO system, when the holiday occurs, whether they've worked or not, they will get an additional day of PTO. Number one, that way it still follows the whole philosophy of we're not advancing time. We need to be here when the holiday occurs, but then they'll have that holiday to use at a later time. So that follows current practice, other than right now, we advance them, those holidays on January 1st every year. Second way that we're going to address holidays for those on a 7-day schedule will be, we have some who right now get paid on the holiday regardless of whether they work or not. In essence, they don't currently receive them as floating holidays. So one example of this is at Parkview. At Parkview, when a holiday occurs, the employees get paid for the holiday. Some holidays they end up working, some hours they don't work, but they still get paid the holiday. I think the best way to explain it is using the highway department as an example. Highway, for the most part, they're working Monday through Friday, or sometimes they're working Monday through Thursday. But for the most part, highways recognizing those holidays as they occur. And they're always off on the holiday. They get paid on the holiday. But we end up with times where, say on Christmas, they're all off on the holiday, but it snows and we need people to come in and plow and do different things. They still get paid their holiday pay. They'll also earn, of course, any additional wages for coming in for overtime, any differentials that get applied. You know, that's really a separate issue, but they're still paid their holiday. They don't get it banked. They don't, you know, they just get paid their holiday plus anything for work. Parkview, in essence, is the same way. The difference is you could think of it like on every holiday it snows at Parkview. You know, they always have people come in on every single holiday. So we're really not treating Parkview any differently than what we would any other department. It's just that they're always having people work on a holiday. That's our current practice, both at Highway, Parkview, and the rest of the county. This just describes that in a little bit better detail and outlines that we're going to treat them 1 and 2 days. If we were to let's say tell Parkview they had to change and take them all as floating holiday. I know that's not their preference. And they'd have concerns about that. I know if we told the dispatchers at the sheriff's office, we're now going to treat you like Parkview and you're just going to get paid when the holiday occurs, they wouldn't be happy with that. They would see that as having 10 days taken away from them that they currently can take other days. So we're leaving those systems in place, just describing what our practices. Then if you look at 1803, it just specifies that floating holidays are now built into the accrual rate for PTO. And then 1804, the second paragraph, for employees on more than an 8-hour per day schedule, the holidays will still be based on 8 hours per day. That could be true even if it was 7.5 hours, but employees will need to account for all hours in the pay week by either using PTO to make up the difference or further adjusting work hours. So that gets into the piece right now with specifically with highway, as far as there are 3 holidays over the summer. They're getting more hours than everyone else in the county for those holidays, but they'll have more than enough PTO to cover that, but makes consistency. Then just moving on to policy 20, income continuation benefits. I want to point out on the second page, 2002, which is bereavement leave. We're just specifying again that funeral leave is now built into the accrual rate for PTO. And then we explain bereavement leave as far as how employees can use 2 days of PTO and then up to 5 from the extended leave bank for a total of 7 work days. Then there's some conditions as far as the time frame, which those aren't different than what we have right now. But that's the change reflected for bereavement leave. Policy 26, layoffs, again, updating some verbiage, as far as PTO is not earned during the layoff period, that would be in 2602. Again, we do PTO earnings are based on hours worked, so any unpaid absences, PTO is not earned. You look at policy 27, then termination of employment. 2703 is the notice of retirement or resignation. In our presentation, we talked about requiring proper notice to be eligible for payout. So we incorporated that information as well as defining the notice period as either 30 calendar days for a salaried employee or 2 weeks for an hourly employee. And then underneath that, proper notice requires maintaining a paid status for all shifts within the termination notice period and physically working the last day. And then if we move ahead to 2709, benefits upon termination. Subsection A, this is where employees terminating more than a year after their date of hire with proper notice are eligible to receive a payout of earned but unused PTO based on the schedule below, and that schedule follows how we do vacation time currently. Other than the 25+ years, then is 6 weeks. And then again, it's been stated before, but I wanted to make it very clear in paragraph C, frozen sick leave is still paid out. And then the extended sick leave bank in paragraph D, with the exception of frozen sick leave, the extended leave bank is not eligible for payout. So we updated all these policies that are currently in our handbook, but then we also talked about some provisional or temporary policies to try to make a smooth transition for employees. I didn't want to incorporate all those exceptions in all of these policies, just to come back and have to take them all out later and do more cleanup. So I wrote a transition document, just specifying that these rules will be in effect for January 1st, 2024, expire at the end of 24 unless otherwise specified. And I'll briefly run through these, but these are all the transition things that we had talked about, including some feedback I had received from Supervisor Binder. So first, any all unused vacation and floating holiday at the end of this calendar year will roll over as PTO. 2, up to 8 days of sick leave will convert to PTO on 1/1/24 for all employees. All remaining sick time will convert to the extended leave bank. 3, the extended leave bank may be accessed in the same manner that sick leave had been accessed under the previous system. 4, employees hired prior to 1/1/24 are not subject to the minimum 1-year length of service provision for qualifying for an eligible payout on leaving county employment. 5, employees may be advanced up to 10 days of PTO through the end of June of next year. 6, employees on an approved FMLA leave may be advanced PTO up to the amount of time that would have been earned on January 1st of 2024 under the previous system of vacation, floating holiday, and sick leave, less any PTO they had earned to that point. And then 7, employees who were, as of this past January, earning a combined amount of days of vacation, floating holiday, and sick time at a greater rate than called for under the new policy will earn PTO at the closest multiplier to that rate, rounding higher, so the total earned time is not less until the years of service qualify them for an increase under this policy. And then 8, this is the one I added, we're talking to Supervisor Binder, effective 1/1/2025, we'd advance employees up to 5 days of PTO till March 31st, 2025. Part of the thinking with that and with all of these, but I could envision a situation where, let's say we had someone who took all of their FMLA leave right away the first quarter of 2024. We'd still expect them to end the year with perhaps a day or two of PTO because they'll be earning more. But then right away next year, 2025, it kind of delays them in the sense that if they were to take a vacation in February of 25, well, even though they've been under PTO for a full year, they've used it all, we advanced it to them. So again, trying to minimize any type of disruption or disadvantage. And as we've spoken, this really, I think, sets up a framework. If this gets approved, once we have some experience under our belt, if we need to make further adjustments, certainly willing to discuss those and bring any changes back to you. But in a nutshell, those are the policies that would incorporate the changes presented. And then, of course, we have a resolution that would implement these at the end of the day on December 31st, 2023, including that transition document.
I have one question, clarification. I think it was under the transition rules and it was number 4. Does that mean that, because I know in the future, like when this is settled and this is our goes, if it gets passed, whatever. But that's so that you don't have to claw back, right? But this is like prior to 1/1/24, so
Yeah.
that would mean if you got hired on December 30th and you didn't stay a whole year, you would still get that PTO?
Well, they would, we still might have a clawback situation in that case.
That's what I thought,
Yeah.
okay.
But the reason for including this is we could have employees who were hired this year. We could have an employee, whether they're hired in November or maybe August, that has earned vacation under this current system, that if they didn't use it under the current system, when they leave, it's
Oh,
eligible for.
Gotcha, okay, I'm clear now, I'm clear.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So
Thank
again, we just didn't want to disadvantage someone by
That
saying
makes
that
sense.
it would have been eligible and it's not. And because if anyone stays beyond a year, moving forward, they fall under the minimum 1 year, which they then met that criteria.
Perfect, yeah, thank you. You clarified every detail that I had a question with, so thank you so much.
You bet.
That was it.
Now, this little document that is attached to the resolution is in fact the employee handbook as to what PTO is all about, correct?
Yes, they are. Yeah, it's not the entire thing. We have all the other policies,
Yeah.
but these would take the place of those policies.
So they kind of fit right in.
Yes. And that's part of why too, for instance, on some of these, for instance, the titles, policy 17 right now is the vacation policy. So that title itself just changed into PTO. So the policies themselves, there's not additional policies. They basically will take out the existing ones
Right,
and substitute
Right.
these.
right. Anybody have any questions other than that?
I just got one. Well, as far as donating the sick leave, we won't be able to do that no more.
We don't currently do that.
Not the sick leave, we donated vacation.
Correct.
Will we still be able to donate out of our PO time or not?
Yes, there's nothing that prohibits that. We just don't, we've talked about different ways to set that up. Like right now, it's employee driven, where, an employee will say, hey, I'm aware that Julie has a need. I'd like to donate time. We allow that if under certain conditions, she's used up all her time. She's on like Malay leave, some of those types of things. And we've talked about if we should continue doing it in that vein, or if we should do more of instead of a specific person donating, do we establish like a county-wide pool where employees can just donate time into a pool, and then if someone has a need, they can apply. But those are things that we haven't determined. But But to answer your question, they can still donate.
I know in the highway department, we had two employees that I donated to. And one had cancer and the other one was snowmobiling, and somebody ran over his leg and he was off like 6 months. And it was actually beneficial. I mean, I think even the highway commissioner donated a day and his salary was probably over 2.5 times what the employee was getting. So it isn't like it really cost the county any money. It's like normally they're young employees that don't have time for the long-term disability. They have less than 30 days worth of sick leave. So it's like we're long-term employees. We're giving a day, we're at the top of the pay scale, or at the bottom of the pay scale. So, you know, you're making probably $4 or $5 an hour off of us when we donate a day to them. But if they don't have days, then they also have to pay their health insurance. So it gets to be really costly for them, because once you run out of sick time, then also you pay your health insurance. So for like 6 months, you'd be on the hook for $2,200. So however it works, I don't know if you went by a county pool, how many people would do it just due to the fact that they don't really know the person.
Right.
You know, it's like at the highway department, we look at ourselves as a family, and you take care of family. So it's like when these people were down and out and hurt, we're gonna help them. But say if it was somebody in human services, I don't know them from, I would look at it, well, that's your family, take care of them. You know what I mean? So I don't know how apt I would be, because I would be donating all my sick or all my vacation time, because there'd always be somebody that would need it. But I just took care of the group that, you know, like I always donated, and sometimes more than one day if that's what it took. But I would think that it would be nice to continue doing that, because it's for the people. If you take the long-term disability after 30 days, you go on the long-term disability, get your 66 2/3. But till then, you know, when you first start here, you get hurt, there's no pay. You know, you're out of a job and you have a family to support, and there's no check. You can't get unemployment, and it's up to, you know, hopefully your co-workers like you and they'll take care of you.
Anybody else have any questions yet? Mike, you have anything to say or add? Okay. We want to vote on the resolution. You want to bring the resolution?
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Steve moves the resolution amending the human services policy to adopt paid time off, the paid time of PTO plan. And that's been seconded by Betsy. BE. Let's vote on it.
Aye.
Aye, 5 ayes and 0.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Ladies, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
The last thing on the agenda before we get to adjournment in the next meeting is a commendation. Betsy, you want to do the accommodation, bring the resolution to the floor?
I'd like to move the accommodation for honoring Winnebago County employee Paul Delap in memoriam.
Second.
Thank you. Steve Bender, second. Please. Have a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm fine, so. Okay, I failed to put the next meeting date in as an agenda item, and so we're gonna decide the next meeting date right now. It's 7th of December, which is a Thursday. 2023. If you're all in agreement, everybody.
Aye.
We're all in agreement. Okay. Dave, you want to adjourn? I move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Betsy. Thank you, Dave. We're 10:03. If we take a vote,
Aye.
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 Aye. So fine. Yeah.